Welcome to You Make the Difference. I'm Wanda Walker, and today we're talking to Paul Longrear, who is the founder of the Georgia Military Veterans Hall of Fame. Welcome to the show, Paul.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yes, I know you're very passionate about this, and you wanted to start off the show just by telling about the Hall of Fame. So,
yeah, I do. I want to kind of talk to LaGrange and Troup County. I live in Troup County. The Georgia Military Veterans Hall of Fame is registered in Troup County. We've been going 4 years now. We have 66 great Georgians inducted. Nobody from Troup or LaGrange has been inducted because nobody from Troup or LaGrange has been nominated. I'm going to tell you something, folks. We've got 2 Medals of Honor in this county. We've got 3 Distinguished Service Crosses that I know of. That's the second highest award there is. We've got oodles and gobs of Silver Stars, which is the 3rd highest award. But not only that, we have some great people that have performed service or achievements. There's 3 categories. You don't have to be a bullet shooter to be in the Hall of Fame. You don't have to have fallen on a hand grenade or something like that. You could do it just by being a great American and serving veterans after service or something like that. But I want to encourage you. I've got this book. Some of you may have seen it, may have not seen it. It's written by Dr. West, and it has the name of every soldier killed serving his country from this county, from all the way from World War I to when he wrote it. I think about 90s, something like that. And the families are in here. And here's the thing about it. For example, we contacted a man just recently who was selected as the Man of the Decade for Southeast Georgia and was presented awards and all that. And he has 50 years in the National Guard and done some great things. He's a representative for the state of Georgia. And we contacted him, and he said, "Oh, I don't deserve that." Well, wait a minute. It's just for the same things you did to get the decade of the Man of the Decade. Well, I didn't deserve that either, but they kind of forced it on me. I'm not going to. He won't let us do it. Let me tell you something. This is not about your false humility. This is about your grandkids, your great-grandkids. It's about 100 years from now when somebody's doing a genealogy or a study of the family, and they find out that, oh, Billy Bob is in the Georgia Military Veterans Hall of Fame. Didn't have a clue. And all of a sudden their esteem goes up and they take much more pride in their family. It's not about you, it's about the people that follow you, the people that can look back and see that as an example of something to do. LaGrange and Troup County, please, take the soldiers and nominate them. There's nothing greater than acknowledging or honoring a great American, and Georgia is full of them, and LaGrange and Troup County is full of them. Thank you.
So, and you could probably highlight some people that you feel like ought to be nominated, right?
Oh,
everybody in the book.
The whole book. I've written their names down on a sheet of paper. Here's excuse me here. I need extra eyes. World War II heroes. James Adams has a Silver Star, Bronze Star with a V, Purple Heart. A guy named Alfred has the Distinguished Flying Cross. Cohen has a Silver Star. Charles Graham has 5 Air Medals and a Purple Heart. Emmett Kirby has the Navy Cross. He's a Marine, was a Marine, and a Purple Heart. Alfred Peters, Silver Star and a Purple Heart. Lawrence Tatum, Silver Star, he was in the Navy. Destroyer's been named for him. This guy is a hero.
Wow.
And he can't even get nominated by his own people in his own county. Herbert Wright, Silver Star, Purple Heart. James Yates, Silver Star, Purple Heart. That's in World War II. Korea, Alton Thomas Barnes, Silver Star. And there's a bunch more. And then Vietnam heroes, Captain Sprayberry, Hammett Lee Bowen, got a road named after him. Come on, folks. Honor your heroes. It disappoints me because Carrollton has 2 Medals of Honor, and they were in the 1st class. And LaGrange and Troup has 2 Medals of Honor, and you're saying, well, why don't you nominate? I can't nominate them by the bylaws. I'm on the board of directors. We cannot be put into the Hall of Fame. We cannot nominate people because, hey, it'd be a fixed deal. And so it's a competitive thing. We get probably 25 to 30 nominations, and there will be 15 to 16 people put in. Everybody don't get in, but they also get a certificate that they've been nominated. And so I want to encourage you, please, if you have anybody, a friend, a family member that you think deserves to be in there, honor them by nominating them. Thank you.
Yes, yes. And I'm sure there's some people who will pick that up after this show.
Well, I'm believing that.
Yes. Okay. So tell me what prompted you to start the Georgia Military Veterans Hall of Fame.
Well, I'm a veteran and I love veterans.
Yes.
I really do. If it wasn't for the veterans folks, we'd be doing this in German or Japanese or something. Come on, we got to get real here. You know, the freedom of speech, freedom of press, freedom of religion. Preachers and journalists don't make that happen. Soldiers make that happen. And so I was in Arkansas where I grew up, and they were having a Hall of Fame induction ceremony. And I saw this guy over there, this old scruffy looking dude with a bunch of grandkids acting like yard apes. And I'm like, oh, he knock a snot out a couple of them, get them under control, you know. And all of a sudden they called his name. He goes up to get honored, and these kids freeze. They're like, what's Grandpa doing up there? You know, I think Grandpa was a house painter. He wasn't anybody for society, but he was an American hero. This dude had gotten a DSC in Vietnam, and the grandkids didn't even know it. But from that moment on, I saw the honor and the respect that changed everything. And so on the way home from there, you know, my wife was driving and I was riding along, and she said, what are you thinking about? I said, I'm wondering if Georgia has a Military Veterans Hall of Fame. And she said, I got a feeling they're fixing to.
Yes.
And so, you know, we started 4 years ago, and like I said, we've inducted 66 people.
That's awesome.
It is.
Yes, thank you. So the purpose of the organization is to
honor heroes.
Honor heroes.
I don't get a dime for everybody goes in. I don't get a donut. I mean, this isn't about anything except honoring great Americans.
Yes, and you know, it's awesome to have heroes among us, right?
We got them.
Yeah, and lots of times we don't even know.
That's right.
Yeah, and I was looking at the website and looking at the honors of the people who are in there. And
yeah.
They are amazing individuals.
Yeah, they are.
They are.
And you know, the first thing that every one of them says, well, I don't deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. If they say that, I know they deserve to be in the Hall of Fame.
Yes. So now tell us exactly how somebody would nominate.
Well, first
someone.
off, let me encourage you to go to the website.
Okay.
It's GMVHOF, Georgia Military Veterans Hall of Fame. But all you got to do, we made it easy, GMVHOF.org. And then hit the button, and it'll pop up, and then there's a row of words there you can click on. I mean, this is not rocket science, folks. If a guy like me can do it, you can do it, I promise you. And so when you go on there, there's the nomination packet that you can push on the button. There's to look at who's already in there. We have 4 classes. We got their pictures, the write-ups, the whole 9 yards. And so that's where it begins right there. And you can download that nomination packet.
All right. What's the criteria for being inducted?
Well, there's 3 categories. There's service, achievement, and we on the coin and stuff. This is the battalion that we give the inductees, and it's a VAS. I don't know if you can see it. It's kind of small from there. But valor, achievement, and service. Now, the valor, of course, is bullet shooters. I mean, they actually get killed, kill people, etc. But then we have the achievement. Now, one of the one of the achievements that we acknowledged was a guy named Mel Pender. If you're into the Olympics, Mel Pender was a lieutenant in the Army and won a gold medal. Now, in the Olympics, folks, that's an achievement. Very few people win gold medals, especially in the Army. So, but you don't have to have been in the Army while you do the achievement, but he just happened to have been. But that's achievement. Then the service. Pat Rowe, a nurse who is well known throughout the area of Atlanta, great lady. She not only saved hundreds or tens of dozens of GIs in Vietnam as a nurse, but she also has served, helped Vietnamese children and people who have to have extra medical assistance. She does it on her own time. And she was nominated, and boom, I mean, she lit up the sky. Mm-hmm. And so we inducted her. And of course, the bullet shooters, I mean, we have, I think, 8 medals of honor, all kinds of hero type people, you know. So all you have to have is one, a DD-214, which everybody gets if they get out of the Army. Now, if he's a World War II guy, there's another form, but you know, it tells you about it on the website. Need a picture. We can't hang them in the Hall of Fame if we don't have a picture. we gotta have a picture of them, and it needs to be an 8 by 10. And if you don't have one, you can go to Walmart and enlarge it. Okay, and then we need the write-up of what they've done. And so I mean, it's folks. It's simple. I think we've inducted 66. I think we've had like 175 or something like nominations. I don't know how many, but it's not hard. It's if you love your veteran, nominating. Now it's a $25 administrative fee, but you know, if you can't afford it, we'll work around that. It's $25, you know.
So it's been going for
4 years.
4 years.
Yeah.
And how many people have been inducted?
66.
66.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And also, people who have received a Medal of Honor, they're automatically inducted. Tell us about that.
Well, if you have the Medal of Honor, all we have to have is the nomination packet. Because we have to have the evidence to put into the archives so that we can, people can research it. And people go on here, and for example, I got a call from a lady one day. The actual Hall of Fame is in the Slappy Floyd War Memorial Building at the Capitol in Atlanta. And we occupy the current class on the bottom floor, and then the other classes are up on the rotunda on the second floor. This lady called and said, are y'all open on Saturday? And thinking that I was I'm like, ma'am, I'm not at the Capitol, and to be honest with you, I'm embarrassed to tell you, I don't know if they're open on Saturday or not. And I gave her a number to call. And so we get people archiving. They want to know about so-and-so. Could we send them the write-up? I think I'm kin to them or something like that. So that's why we need a packet. But if they've got the Medal of Honor, they're automatically going in the Hall of Fame if you nominate them.
Yes. Okay, and so tell me how somebody gets the Medal of Honor.
Oh, well, it's really two criteria. One, you have to have done something to help achieve the mission, and two, to have saved someone's life. Not just shooting bullets and being brave, throwing hand grenades and charging a machine gun. Oh, that's pretty good. But then if you grab some guy and drag him to safety and stuff like that, so it's
Okay. All right. There's a ceremony each year, and new inductees are given a medallion.
Yes, ma'am.
A certificate and a coin. So tell us the significance of each one of those.
All right. This represents the acknowledgement that they're special, because it's just like getting a medallion at the Olympics. Not many folks get one, and in fact, only 66 people in the state of Georgia have one. But we're hoping to have 666 eventually. If you'll nominate people, we'll do that.
That's right.
And there's a military tradition of having a coin, and so we created a coin because we're a paramilitary organization, and it's got the person's name, and if they got the Silver Star, or if they were service or achievement, and the date on the back of it there. And then the other thing they get, it's like graduating from college or something else. We have the diploma or the certificate, and I think that. I think you can see it. It's very nice. Got the the little gold circle, and I actually sign them. This was one that something was done wrong. I don't remember now, but we want it done right, because we want it to be proudly displayed in the home or wherever they want to display it.
Okay, and so how many veterans are in the state of Georgia?
About 770,000, depending on, some will die and some will get out of the military, but around 770 constantly.
Yes, and I was in a meeting yesterday, and Sandra Brownlee was there. She has a veteran service over in Griffin called Waypoint.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Are you familiar with that?
Well, I'm familiar with I'm familiar with just about everything military, because I've tried to reach everybody to make sure they're aware of this. I don't know her personally.
Yes, but she is from Troup County and
okay.
has served 20-something years, and now she's helping veterans
right.
make sure they get the services that they need. And
let me say something. Everybody is trying to help veterans and help their dependents and et cetera. but it's nice to honor them.
Yes.
You know, I mean, they need help, and I wanted to. I mean, you know, I'm all about helping, believe me. But at the same time, that it's nice to honor one.
It is. I was just thinking Sandra needs to be honored, but she was saying that
That sounds like a good one.
yeah.
Come to think of it, service.
Yes,
Wow.
yes.
Pull her out.
All right. So, and she was saying that there are 2,300 veterans in Troup County. That was the count that she had. So,
Okay. I quit counting because nobody's nominating.
Paul really wants Troup County to nominate
I
some
do.
veterans.
I live in Troup County, folks. Come on.
Yes. Okay. So, where is the Hall of Fame located, Paul?
And the Slappy Floyd War Memorial Building on the Capitol grounds in Atlanta.
Yes.
That's not in the dome, but it's part of the Capitol grounds.
That's awesome.
They got World War I, World War II, Korea, Vietnam. It's a great visit. If you haven't been there, you ought to go there and see all these. Georgia takes care of their veterans, and now that they have a Hall of Fame, we've closed the deal.
Yes. Now, Paul, tell me about your military service.
Oh, I was in the Army.
Tell me about it.
Well, where's that question on it? I didn't see that question.
You didn't? It's number 14.
Oh, okay. Well, I was drafted in 1965, and then right after I went in, Vietnam, getting short on lieutenants, they tend to be stupid and get killed a lot. And so they sent me to OCS because I was kind of stupid and capable of getting killed, I guess. And then I did 2 tours in Vietnam. I served in Germany. I served in Honduras. And then I got out of active duty in 1976 to go into full-time ministry. The North Vietnamese shoved the fear of God right down my throat.
Yeah.
And I got saved. I was not saved when I went to Vietnam. And so I came back saved. And it took me about 5 years, but I eventually answered the call. And so went into but then I stayed in the reserve. And so I've actually, my wife and I have been on the mission field in Ukraine, Israel. I've been in Honduras, Germany. I mean, you know, that's it.
Okay. And so I want you to tell us about your salvation experience that you had on the battlefield.
Okay. 7 February 1968, I was involved in the end of a battle. It started in 6 February, and we fought all night long, and slowly we began to lose numbers until we were down to about, there were 7 of us left alive. And before I left the house, my wife said, "I'll be praying for you." And she was a Christian. I said, "Good, you know." And she said, I'll send you Rice Krispie Squares. And so we kissed and had a brand new baby. And I went to walk out, I turned around and I said, "Don't forget the Rice Krispie Squares." Folks, I didn't know what pray for you meant. You know, we religious folks, we get together and we use all these terms that we understand. You walk up to the average idiot, which I was, had no clue what prayer for you mean. I figured it meant talk to God, but since I'd never met God, I didn't know how you talk to him or anything like that. But I figured my wife said, "I'll be praying for you." I said, "That's good." And so I'm over there and I'm, you know, trying not to get killed and trying to kill bad guys and all that. And so after about 18 hours, we're bleeding. We don't have any water to drink, no food to eat. We're running low on bullets. And this thing is running through my mind. "I'll be praying for you, be praying for you." Well, I was wounded in the head and in the ankle and hand, and one of my guys bled out, died because we couldn't medevac anybody. And so I got over in the corner by myself and I looked around because I was a bad guy, you know, and I got over and I said, "Look here, God, let me tell you something. I've never asked anything from me. I've chosen to live the way I wanted to live. I'm prepared to die that way. But now my wife and my baby, my wife's a Christian, my baby's never hurt anybody. I expect you to take care of them. You understand that?" And of course people say, "You talk to God that way?" Hey, I talked to man that way. I didn't know God. I mean, I believed there was a God, but I didn't know him and didn't know anything about him, you know. And so finally, we get a call from the people that were supposed to come and relieve us, rescue us, and reinforce us. And they said, "Look, there's only 7 of you left alive. There'd be more of us killed trying to do that. So that militarily, that doesn't make sense." Well, I agree from a strategic perspective, it doesn't make sense. But if you're one of the 7, it sure don't make sense, you know. And so I got angry. I used to have a bad temper. And so I began to curse, and I stood up and I said, that's it. I said, you people can stay down here and die like men, like worms if you want to. I'm going up on top of the ground and die like a man. And so there was a captain in the bunker with us. We were in an underground bunker. And he said, if the lieutenant's going, we're all going. And I said, look, I don't care what you do. I'm leaving. I'm taking, I had 2 men that belonged to me. I said, I'm taking my men and we're leaving. And so they all said, okay, we're going with you, Lieutenant. So it was my idea. I go out first, you know, and we were down in this hole in the ground. It was about 20 feet down. And so I'm climbing these, the steps had been burned out and blown out, but the risers that you nail the steps to were there. So we're kind of working our way up. 3 guys are carrying 3 guys, or pushing them and helping pull them. And so I get to the top, and I look around, and the airplanes are flying over, dropping bombs for us to try to keep the enemy off of us, because we were in bad shape. And then they were firing artillery rounds around us to try to keep reinforcements from getting there. So we were engaged. We were surrounded by about 100 soldiers, the best that anybody could figure out. So we get up to the top, and what had happened was when these airplanes were flying over dropping bombs, the enemy guys were getting in our old fighting positions for protection. And so they were kind of hiding, and we'd called, and the colonel said, look, when we're going to have the airplanes make 3 wet runs, that means drop bombs, but they're going to keep flying over. And so hopefully the enemy won't realize what's going on, and it'll give you a chance to get out. Well, hey, sounded good to us. It's the best plan we could think of. So we get up on top of the ground, and I kind of look around, you know, and I said, come on, hurry up. And so they're pushing guys up to me, and I'm pulling them up on top of the ground. And so they get over here, and the one that's carrying one is lined up. I said, all right, now, y'all go this way. I got you covered for security. And I stepped around. They'd attacked us with Russian tanks. This was the first time tanks were used in the war. And we'd knocked out 11 of the 16. We ran out of tank bullets. And so, and this old movie stuff about a hand grenade, it ain't gonna blow up a tank, trust me. So anyhow, I step around the tank, and there's a machine gun sitting there, and there's 2 men behind the machine gun. I had paid my soldiers. I had mercenary, so I was in Special Forces, the Green Berets. I had mercenary soldiers, and I'd paid my mercenary soldiers on the 5th of February. Well, this is the 7th of February, and they hadn't been anywhere. They couldn't get out of there. Well, the enemy had gone around and robbed their dead bodies and had this stack of money about that wide and that high. I remember I looked at that money, and so I assaulted a machine gun because I knew that it'd get us all. And so I was going to try to at least get as many of us out of there alive as possible. Well, when I engaged the enemy, my rifle jammed. I fired 3 bullets. Fortunately, I guess I killed the 2 guys. But my rifle jammed, and I'd been wounded in the ankle. Well, I flipped in the air and landed on my back, and it knocked the wind out of me. And so I'm laying there, and I throw my arm out so that one of the guys can grab me. That's what you do, so you don't make a guy come back. But I told them before we left the bunker, I said, look, if you hit the ground, you stay where you lay. Nobody's going back for anybody. I'm trying to get as many of us out of here alive as possible. If you get a chance, go for it. And so I threw my arm out, and they were all gone. And I'm like, hey, what, they left me. And then I remembered what I said. And I thought, well, shoot, I meant not me, forget the others, but not me. But anyhow, so there I lay. I can't catch my breath. I'm trying to get my breath, and I'm trying to unjam my rifle at the same time because I'm expecting soldiers to come run over here any minute. And I happened to look up, and this airplane is flying over, and I guess that what caused me to look up was that the sound quit, and the airplane, and let me give you a comment here. If you're a Christian, you may struggle with what I'm fixing to tell you. It don't bother heathen when I tell them this story. A lot of Christians get upset and don't believe it. But anyhow, here comes this A1. They fly slow and low. This thing, and I look up, and this thing is stopped in the air. How's that grab you? Airplane stopped in the air. Yeah. And so then I listened for a second. The artillery rounds, they've been coming in all around us, and everything went dead silent. And I'm thinking, I'll be praying for you, I'm like, oh man, come on, baby, let up. I got to get out of here. I didn't know what was going on, but I knew it was a God thing of some sort. Then I heard footsteps behind me. And I grabbed my rifle by the barrel because I thought it was one of them dirt bags coming up to bayonet me or something. And I was going to hit him with my rifle. And as I went to turn, it was a bright, blinding light. I mean, I couldn't even turn sideways and look. I mean, I actually dropped my rifle, and it was so bright and so intense. And I said, oh, man, the God. It's the God. My wife has prayed to God up, you know. And what do you say to the God? I mean, I didn't know the ABC of Christianity, the Roman road, and all that stuff we talk about. I'm like, well, and you know what I really thought? I thought God was going to walk up and say, well, maybe an angel standing there. Look at here, boom, and kick me.
Oh,
I was not a nice guy. I mean, really, I'd heard about God and Jesus and people. I was cool with there's a God. Okay, there's a God. He had a son named Jesus. He's a man. He had a son. Okay, so what? He died for you. No. If he's God, he knows me, and he didn't die for me. I'll promise you, because I was not a nice guy. And so I'm like, oh man, the God, he speaks to me. He says, what are you going to do? Remember down in the hole, I said, I'm prepared to die the way I've lived. I'm not asking anything from me. But my wife said, I'll be praying for you. And he says, what you going to do? I'm like, what am I going to do? My rifle's jammed. I can't walk. What do you mean, what am I going to do? Sing a song? I mean, come on, God, what's this about? But then I felt this like warm syrup coming over my head. And I thought, oh, I'm dying. I'd never died before, so I wasn't sure. This warm syrup is like coming down over my head. And that's, I remember I looked up, the airplane was still up there. I listened, nothing. I thought, I've lost a sense of motion. I've lost a sense of sound, except for God's voice. And pretty soon I'll be blind, and I wasn't in pain. I honestly did not hurt. And I thought, that's the way you die. And so I thought, oh, this isn't too bad. But then he said a second time, what are you going to do now? And I thought, ooh, because my mama would say, if she said now, I stopped. And I thought, oh man. And then I began to realize this warm syrup was love. Now I'll tell you now, I enjoyed ladies, and I loved my wife and my baby, but I did not know how to receive love at all. I had never felt love, didn't even know what it meant really. But all of a sudden I knew love, and this warm syrup is coming over me. And I'm like, and so tears come to my eyes. I mean, I'm like, oh, come on, man. And tears come to my eyes. And then I realized that this God is asking me if I want to live. And so I just kind of, I guess I threw my hands up. I don't remember. I just said, God, I don't want to die, not now. Airplane took off, artillery rounds began to land. I didn't say a prayer or, confess sins or anything like that. I just said, I don't want to die now. But God knew if I called on him, I was indebted to him. I owed him. And so I checked my rifle. My rifle was still jammed. I looked around. The light was gone. I was at peace. And I just laid back on the ground for a second. I said, wait a minute. He didn't say stay here. And so I look, I get up, and I start hobbling, and I go over the military crest of the hill, and my guys turn around like, no, please, don't shoot me now, not now, And so they, come on, LT, come on, Lieutenant LT, come on, LT. So I went hobbling down the hill. We went to the rendezvous point, and
You were rescued.
I'm a Christian.
Yeah, I know. You're rescued in more ways than one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. That's my story.
Yeah, and your relationship with God has been just off the charts, hasn't it? It's taken you to Israel. It's taken you to the Ukraine.
Well, first off, it took me about 8 years to figure out how this thing worked.
Okay.
I got saved in 68, 7 February 68, and in January 63, I got baptized in the Holy Spirit, and everything began to open up. I began to realize what grace and mercy was. I began to understand that all of my past was immaterial, that I had a new future in front of me.
Yes. Well, tell us a little bit about your adventures over in Israel.
Oh, Lord. everybody ought to go to Israel. If you're a Christian, go to Israel.
Yes.
It's the land of the book. It's the land of the people. I mean, it's where Jesus walked. Come on, man. Come on. Go, what are you waiting on? You know? Well, I used to take tours over there, and people say, well, preacher, I'd like to go, but what if we get killed? What? So what? Are you a Christian? You're going to heaven, dude. You know, and so Israel, I mean, I don't know what to say about it. It's the greatest place in the world. It really is. And my wife and I lived there 2 years. And she used to go to the Shuk. Shuks get blown up. She was never there when they blow up. We rode the buses. We didn't have a car. Buses get blown up. We weren't on the bus. You know, all I can tell you is that if you're a Christian, a trip to Israel will open your eyes to the Bible like you're walking in Israel as you read the Bible. You're walking there with Jesus when he goes over the Mount of Olives and when he goes to bring Lazarus out of the grave. I've been to all them places. You walk through you see that as you go through the Bible once you've been to Israel.
And tell me what you did in the Ukraine.
Well, you know, the Jews have a long history with God. They're his chosen people. He chose them to obey 613 laws. Thank God I'm not chosen. I have trouble with the 2 or 3 that I know of. But his proof to me, if I had any doubt that God is real, I look at Israel and I know God's real. Israel is surrounded by 22 Muslim nations. They've been attacked numerous times. They've been destroyed many times. The Holocaust, surely you know about the Holocaust. Everything is like that. And the relationship with God, it depends on his relationship with the Jews. Folks, we got a free ride. All you got to do is confess your sins and ask forgiveness. We don't have to keep all them laws or anything. Just obey the Spirit of God. They have to work at it. They've got to come to they either have to meet Jesus or try to figure out how to keep all them laws. And the reason Jesus came, they can't keep the laws. We get a free ride. All that stuff in Revelation, that's about Jews. The 440,000, the 2 prophets, that's all about Jews, you know. And so in the Ukraine, we were trying to rescue Jews, bring them back. We actually had a big cruise ship. There's a ministry out of Bournemouth, England that we worked for. Ebenezer Emergency Fund had a big cruise ship. We would bring them to Odessa. We had an old Soviet camp there and had barracks and showers and all that. We'd keep them there until the ship came. When we got it full, we'd fill the ship up and send them home, because it says, comfort ye, my people. You know, as you do unto these brothers of mine, so you do unto me. Jesus was a Jew. Some of you may not like that. You may not even believe it, but Jesus was a practicing Jew. His brothers are Jewish. We're adopted in, okay? So.
All right, and Paul, you and your family were featured in a documentary. Tell us about that documentary. It was about your time in Vietnam.
I was contacted by a Baptist pastor who does movies, and he said, I'd like to do a movie of your life. And I'm like, well, I'm not sure I want to know everybody know about my life. And he said, well, you'll control. And so what goes in it? And so he took me, my wife, and my 3 children. The movie is called Man Left Behind. You can get it on Prime. What's that? Amazon Prime, is that what that's called? I'm not into all this stuff.
Yes.
I don't know all this stuff. I think someone told me they actually, you can order it from Walmart.
Oh,
like
wow,
$10 or something like it. But it's a full, I think, an hour-and-a-half movie. And they took us to Vietnam, and we went back to the Battle of Long Bay, and I met with the tank commander of the North Vietnamese Army, and you know, we hugged on each other, and I told him about the Lord, and he kind of choked a little bit and guffawed, but hey, that's his problem. I met Jesus myself.
Yes. And so tell me about going back. How was that for you? And
Immaterial.
Immaterial.
I died right there.
Yeah.
Old man. In fact,
the man
left
yes.
behind, that was me.
Yes.
We lost a lot of men in that battle. 3 were actually captured and were prisoners from 68 to 73. We had 8 that were MIA. We've found all the remains now except 1. The youngest kid there, a kid named Danny Phillips from Philadelphia. From Pennsylvania, not Philadelphia. We've never found his remains. And we're looking. And it was just a real great experience of it.
And so your family went with you.
Yes.
Tell me how that impacted them.
Well, when the pastor from Dallas called me, the Baptist guy, he said, I'd like to take you and your oldest child. And I said, my oldest child don't want to go to Vietnam. And he said, well, how you know? And I said, "God, I just know her, you know." And so we wrote 2 or 3 emails back and forth. And I just sent them to him. He said, well, surely you can talk her into it. I said, here, man, read what she said. And he said, I'm shocked. I've never seen such frankness and openness between a parent and a child. And I'm like, wow. And he said, how about if I take all 3 of your children? I said, you're not listening, dude. She don't want to go. Them boys sure don't want to go. And he said, well, would you? I said, you call them. He called them and they said, yeah. And so I'm like,
All
what?
three? All 3?
Huh?
All of them said yes?
Yeah. He must be some silver-tongued dude, I'll tell you. And so I said, whoa, wait a minute now. If you're taking me and the kids, you got to take the glue that holds it together. Mama don't go, we don't go. He said, I'll take you all. So we took all 5 of us, and we went over there and filmed this movie. And I almost wept because the very thing we were fighting for is now fighting against is there. It's a communist country. Those people they're imprisoned in their own little house, in their own life. They have no freedoms. If you've never been to a communist country, you need to find out what it's really all about. If you've never been to a socialist country, trust me, unless you're on welfare and want to live that way, you don't want to be socialist.
Yes. And Paul, when we were talking about the Hall of Fame, we were going to give an example of someone who had received an award of valor or been inducted because of
Okay, my
valor.
favorite valor guy is a kid from Noonan, Johnny Calhoun.
Mm-hmm.
Johnny was just a kid off the street. He was married, had a baby, was having a hard time feeding him and getting a good job because he was a high school graduate. So he joined the Army and went to Vietnam. He was a Green Beret. And one day he went out on a mission with 4 other men behind the enemy lines, and they got compromised. And Johnny put them on a helicopter, fought the enemy until the helicopter could leave, was shot up, pulled a pin on a hand grenade, rolled over so when the enemy rolled his body over, it would blow him up. Johnny Calhoun got the Distinguished Service Cross. Johnny Calhoun is an American hero.
Yes. And so even though you don't want any recognition, you are too, right? You have.
No.
Yes, you
I
are.
am too what?
Yeah.
Hey, I was
An
just
American
at the wrong
hero.
place at the wrong time.
Yeah.
And God blessed me.
He did bless you tremendously.
Yeah.
But you have received awards also, right?
Yeah. I mean, I'm in the Arkansas Hall of Fame because I grew up in Arkansas, and I'm in the Army Ranger Hall of Fame out at Fort Benning.
Okay, Paul, tell me who has influenced your life. I know Patty has, your wife.
Ooh. Well, her dad was probably one of the 2 most godly men I ever met in my life. And I think because I didn't really understand love, her family kind of wooed me without, her mom wasn't real wild about me. I think Mama could see beyond the oh, yes ma'am, hallelujah, thank you Jesus, I think she could see through all that. But her dad was a godly man, had more influence, and her brother, who was killed in Vietnam, was a godly man for a young man. He was my age, my size, could have been my brother, really. Very, very influential. And then I had an Uncle Jack. I never knew my father. He was a traveling sperm bank. I guess I can say that. he was a traveling sperm bank. When I met him at the age of 35, I found out I had 8 half brothers and sisters I didn't even know about. And so I didn't have any influence from my father. I had 5 stepfathers, but my mama was a great woman. She wasn't a good picker of men.
Did you have any that you knew about? Any brothers and sisters that
Not
you
at
knew
that
about?
time.
So you thought you were maybe an only child?
Well, Mother had told me that he had a child in high school or something. I knew there was one other one, but I didn't know anything about him.
Yes.
And so the other guy was his brother, Jack Longrear, out in Dallas, Texas, a man of God. That's the 2 most godly men I've ever met in my life, both of them. Fred
Yes.
Jackson and Jack Longrear.
Yeah, and it's so important to have men, godly men in your life, isn't it?
It really is.
So tell me what they poured into your life.
Well, I think they poured into me that you can be a man and be a Christian. I was really wrapped up in being a man. I mean, I don't like to, talk bad, but I like to fight. I like to drink. I like to carouse. And I thought that was being a man. And because I never knew my father, I was always trying to figure out who I am. Mm-hmm. Who am I? My dad was a Golden Glove boxer, so I got into boxing. I loved to fight. Well, I enjoyed fighting. I don't love it, but I enjoyed fighting. In fact, I coached boxing even after I became a Christian. And so they showed me. Uncle Jack was in World War II. Her dad was in World War II. Veterans, again, men who laid it down for this country. And they showed me you can be a man and be a Christian. And that was my only apprehension, was I didn't want to be a snowflake or something,
Yes.
And I'd never met a Christian that influenced me and impressed me. I hate to say that, but I had never met one.
Yes, and now you've met.
Oh, I know. And I know some men I'd go to war with in a heartbeat.
Yes.
They're great Christian men. I mean, whoo, dog.
Yes.
I mean, they call Jesus down on you in a heartbeat.
Okay, so Paul, what about speaking to young men and women who might be thinking about going into the military for a career?
Well, I've been out of the military now since '92. The military's changed a lot. It still boils down to what your heart is. If you love this country and you're smart enough to realize if it wasn't for the military, we wouldn't have what we have, then I think you would be a candidate to go in. If you don't understand that, I recommend you don't go in, because you're not going to make it. It's all volunteer now. Back when I was drafted, I didn't have any choice. I had to stay in, and for years, you come in the Army, you're going to stay in the Army until you go to jail or finish your time. But nowadays, they'll put you out in a heartbeat, and then you got that on your record. So if your heart's right, if your mind's together, and you appreciate this country, I'd recommend you consider serving it, because you can it's a great field for evangelism if you're a Christian.
Okay, well, Paul, we want to thank you for your service to the country, and also thank you for honoring those who have served.
Loved it.
And
I loved it.
We're just so appreciative that you started the Georgia Military
Amen.
Hall of Fame, and we encourage the people in Troup County to nominate our residents so that they can be honored also.
Uncle Sam wants you to nominate.
Yes, and remember, you make the difference. Thank you for watching.
It's a year of replevin'. Got a promise from heaven. It's all coming